All right, tonight is the last of the 7 deadly sins. Tonight's sin is greed. So, what is greed?
Money hungry.
Love of money.
Right,
Wanting too much of something.
Want too much of something? Okay.
Yep.
would money be greed?
Okay. Putting money ahead of God, wanting money. Okay.
I think it's wanting all of everything.
Wanting all of everything.
Yeah, like you can't just like my diamond painting. I can't just have one painting. I need all of my paintings, and I don't care if nobody else gets the paintings I want because I want them all.
Okay. Okay.
That's what I think. Not
So,
necessarily.
Fresh. What
so
did
it
you
says
do?
she set her back, owie.
Oh, I moved my hip the wrong way.
Yep. So, yes, what she was saying is a part of it. There's an attitude with greed. It's an excessive desire to possess wealth or goods with the intention to keep it for oneself. That's the basic English dictionary definition of greed. And like two of the other sins that we've already talked about lust and gluttony, this is a sin of excess. But a broader definition of greed is an inappropriate expectation. What are some cases where that might come into play? An inappropriate expectation. Anybody listening?
I'm listening.
I'm
Okay.
listening.
All right, so inappropriate expectation.
People owe me everything. People should buy me all the diamond paintings I want them to buy me because I'm wonderful. Therefore,
Okay.
they all should be mine. I have
Uh-huh.
no idea why I'm picking on diamond paintings tonight.
Just because you're doing one.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's what I was thinking.
Okay. How about this? An excessive desire to acquire or possess more than one needs or deserves.
Well, I guess it's the expectation of deserving then. Because some people feel like they deserve absolutely everything.
Okay.
You know? So yes, I would agree.
Okay. When does greed begin in a person's life?
When soon as they can grab for a toy.
Okay.
Kidding?
At what age is that?
Like 6 months.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's true though, isn't it?
It
Greed
is.
really begins early, and seldom does greed take its foot off of the pedal. It keeps it to the metal until people reach the grave, unless God helps you to rein it in.
Yeah.
So let's talk about kids and Christmas. The classic picture of greed. There's some kind of commercial or some kind of advertisement that the kid sees, or maybe their friends have something. And then what happens?
They have to have it
When do they have to have it?
right now.
Now,
It's yesterday.
right? They want it now, and they want it all, whatever it is, and they just got to have it. And they
Right.
got to have it real bad. What do they resort to in trying to get you to get whatever it is?
Temper
Manipulate
tantrum.
tactics. Yeah, that too. Temper tantrum.
Temper
Manipulation.
Manipulation, okay.
Yep. Emotional, whatever.
Meltdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, meltdown in the store. I can't tell you how many of those I had when the kids were growing up.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
Mikey had to have his train.
And does this the have to haves change as they get older?
Well, they don't throw temper tantrums. Well, my kids don't throw temper tantrums, but they do try to manipulate, pout, and do all that stuff.
Yeah, but does the value of the wants change?
Monetary value?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it escalates over time, doesn't it?
They were happy with Dollar Tree toys when they were little.
Mm-hmm.
Get more expensive when they get older.
Yep.
There's a rush to extravagance, and it just builds. Can't live without it. Gotta have it. And it's a seed that's planted in the kid when they're young, and the kid learns how to whine and pout, and greed just keeps working its deadly work, doesn't it?
Oh.
And then if they do get it and they open it for Christmas, what happens next?
Nothing. They play with it for 3 seconds and they
Wait a
move
minute.
on.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it just
Interest
sits there,
quickly.
right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's step on our own toes now. We go to the store, or we see an advertisement, or we hear about some new product, and we
Mhm.
think we need it, and we get it. Do we do
Right.
the same thing?
Yes.
How many
I
things
do.
have you bought that you've used once or twice and there's just sitting on a shelf?
Yep.
Yep.
I'm guilty.
Mhm.
But I do my diamond painting, so that's not greedy then.
Well, not in that way, at least, right?
Nope, not at all.
Well, where do you think greed has gotten some of the major players in our world?
In jail.
In jail? Okay. What else? He's in pain.
Yeah. I moved my leg the wrong way. Some greedy people are really lucky. And
Okay.
they end up being like CEOs and crazy things.
All
They end
right.
up really like their greed almost becomes an obsession and they don't accept anything else to the point where they step all over everybody else and then they end up being rewarded by becoming millionaires and stuff. At least it seems that way. Maybe I'm just being cynical.
Well, let me give you an example from our past. In 1923, 9 of the world's wealthiest men gathered at a hotel in Chicago. This group was comprised of the president of the world's largest steel company, president of the world's largest utility company, the president of the world's largest gas company, the world's greatest wheat speculator, president of the New York Stock Exchange, a cabinet member of the president of the United States, the biggest bear on Wall Street, the head of the world's largest monopoly, the president of the Bank of International Settlements. So these people got together.
Oh, goody.
These were the masterminds of world finance at that time. And these people thought that they were set for life, that they could enjoy their days on earth. Fast forward 25 years, 1948. What happened to these people? Well, Charles Schwab, and we've heard that name, right? Died bankrupt after living on borrowed money in his last 5 years. These are the people that were at this meeting. Samuel Insull died penniless in another country, having been on the run from the law. Howard Hopsom was insane. Arthur Crichton was insolvent, means you out of money. Richard Whitney was just released from Sing Sing prison. Albert Fall was pardoned from prison so that he could die at home. Jesse Livermore committed suicide. Leon Fraser committed suicide. Even Krager committed suicide. These men that once mastered money had somehow suffered a fate under its curse. And whether it was losing it in the Great Depression or misusing it or falling prey to its power, their lives unraveled and ended badly. These are severe examples of the effects of greed. So greed is a deadly sin because it destroys, and this is what you need to understand. It destroys our capacity to trust God. It suggests that if we secure ourselves and please ourselves by possessing things rather than being obedient in our relationship to God, that we will be great. So it destroys our concern for our neighbors and for them having enough, and it makes us small and just completely destroys our trust and our ability to trust God. Do you see how it does that?
Well, you kind of become what everybody you look to yourself. All those people probably look to themselves and nowhere else.
Well, they trusted what they'd earned. They trusted their ability to earn. They trusted everything but God.
Right.
Yeah. And here's the irony of greed. And I'll read these 6 statements and you tell me what this means. Greed is the anger that believes we have the right to possess stuff. Greed is the envy of those who have stuff. Greed is the gluttony of stuff. Greed is sloth that becomes a thoughtless consumer. Greed is the pride of having stuff. Greed is the lust for stuff. What did you just hear there?
Stuff.
What else?
I just thought of the COVID pandemic when people were emptying all the shelves when they didn't need to buy all that crap, and then other people couldn't buy it. That's what my first thought was.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, it's like
What are the other 6? Some of the other 50 cents.
Yes, she caught it. It has the other 6 of the deadly sins.
yeah.
Greed is wrapped up in all the other deadly sins. They all kind of get together. So let's go to the words in the scriptures that are used for greed. And we only have 3 words, believe it or not, for tonight. Short list for greed. So the first one is a Hebrew word. It's basa, B-A-S-A. It's a verb that means to cut off, to gain by violence. Word also describes taking from someone out of greed. So cutting off something from somebody else for yourself. Basa. Second one is also a Hebrew word. It's ha-aha. Ah-awa. Ah-wa. Ta'awa. T-A-A-W-A-H. It's a feminine noun meaning desire, delight, bounty, craving, or greed. I think craving is a good word to go with greed. And then the Greek word is pleoazo. P-L-E-O-N-A-Z-O. Pleoazo. It just means more. To have or cause to have much, more than enough. It's this idea of, I need more, I need more. All right, so you got your Bibles ready. We're going to take a tour through the Bible. I'll read the first passage because I want to read it from the Message, but somebody can go to Isaiah 57, verses 15 to 18. And somebody can go to Matthew 23, 25 to 26. And then third one would be Mark 7:14 to 23.
I have Matthew 23:25 to 26.
Okay, somebody have the Isaiah? Isaiah 57:15 to 18. Larissa or Sarah, either one of you get that one?
Yeah,
A Bible, I'm sorry, and I love to read. I will get one, hopefully for no, I guess 2 weeks from today.
Okay,
I have one. It's not where I'm at right now, though. I think it's still in storage.
your
It's
Bible's in
not a
storage?
good excuse.
Do you have one on your phone?
I don't know how to. I'm afraid I'm gonna lose you. I could try, but
Okay, don't worry about it.
Melody,
All right.
what is the
Can you
second or
can you
third
do
one?
Isaiah 57:15 to 18?
Hold on.
And then we'll get to the Mark one in a little bit. All right, I'm going to read for you first Job 20:20 to 23 from the Message. Such God-denying people are never content with what they have or who they are. Their greed drives them relentlessly. They plunder everything, but they can't hold on to any of it. Just when they think they have it all, disaster strikes. They're served up on a plate full of misery. And when they've filled their bellies with that, God gives them a taste of his anger, and they get to chew on that for a while. We lost Sarah. She tried to find her Bible. She'll have to come back. There she is.
They get to chew on their anger. Or
They,
chew on
no,
God's
they get to chew on God's anger.
God's anger. That's
Yeah,
a
so
little harsh.
yeah. So their greed drives them relentlessly. They're never content with who they are or what they have. They plunder everything else, everybody else. And just when they think they have it all, disaster hits. They're full of misery, and then they get to chew on God's anger, taste of his anger. That doesn't sound good.
No.
All right, Isaiah 57:15 to 18.
You said Isaiah 57?
57:15 to 18.
Okay. For thus says the one who is high and lifted up, who inhabits eternity, whose name is holy. I dwell in the high and holy place, and also with him who is of a contrite and lonely spirit, to revive the spirit of the lowly, and to revive the heart of the contrite. I'm going to 18, right?
Right.
For I will not contend forever, nor will I always be angry, for the spirit would grow faint before me, and the breath of life that I made. Because of the iniquity of his unjust gain, I was angry. I struck him, I hid my face, and was angry. But he went on backsliding in the way of his own heart.
Okay. I'm going to read the last two verses of that, 17 and 18. I was enraged. This is God. I was enraged by his sinful greed. I punished him and hid my face in anger, yet he kept on his willful ways. I have seen his ways, but I will heal him. I will guide him and restore comfort to him. So God saw that this person was in their greed, and God punished them and hid his face from them. But they kept going into this, kept going. God saw them, and he said, I will heal them and I will guide them and restore them if they just realize that they need me.
They knock it off.
Yeah, knock it off. All right, Matthew
Matthew,
23:25 to 26.
woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You clean the outside of the cup and the dish, but inside they are full of greed and self-indulgence. Blind Pharisee, first clean the inside of the cup and dish, and then the outside will be clean also.
All right. Inside's full of greed and self-indulgence. That's what God says they need to clean up. All right. And then we have Mark chapter 7, verses 14 to 23. I'll go ahead and read that. Again, Jesus called the crowd to him and said, "Listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a man can make him unclean by going into him. Rather, it is what comes out of a man that makes him unclean." After he had left the crowd and entered the house, his disciples asked him about the parable. "Are you so dull?" he asked. "Don't you see that nothing that enters a man from the outside can make him unclean? For it doesn't go into the heart, into his heart, but into his stomach, and then out of his body." He went on, "What comes out of a man is what makes him unclean." Now listen to the list. "For from within, out of men's hearts come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. All these evils come from inside and make a man unclean." So we've got two of the deadly sins right there, greed and envy.
Well, yeah, and the other ones, I mean, you can kind of lump the other ones into the other sins as well.
Yep.
But those can all come out of a lot of the other ones.
And it says it comes from the heart.
Yeah.
And we've seen that most of these deadly sins have an emotional piece to them, and emotions are said to come from the heart. All right, here's one we're going to look at just a little bit closer. Luke 12, 13 to 31. This is a parable that Jesus told.
12, 13 to 31.
Yeah.
13 to 31. 31.
13 to 31. Yep.
I can read it.
Okay.
Someone in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me." Jesus replied, "Man, who appointed me a judge or an arbiter between you two?" Then he said to them, "Watch out. Be on your guard against all kinds of greed. Life does not consist in abundance of possessions." And he told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded an abundant harvest. He thought to himself, "What shall I do? I have no place to store my crops." Then he said, "This is what I'll do. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones, and there I will store my surplus grain. And I'll say to myself, you have plenty of grain laid up for many years. Take life easy, eat, drink, and be merry." But God said to him, "You fool, this night your life will be demanded from you. Then who will get what you have prepared for yourself? This is how it will be with whoever stores up things for themselves, but is not rich towards God." Then Jesus said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body is more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap, they have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more valuable are you than the birds? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to your life? Since you cannot do this very little thing, why do you worry about the rest? Consider how the wildflowers grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not set your heart on what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it. For the pagan world runs after all such things, and your Father knows that you need them. But seek his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well.
All right, some passages that we've heard many times, especially that last verse, right? But this all started with Jesus talking about watch out and be on your guard against all kinds of greed. A man's life does not consist of the abundance of his possessions. That's where Jesus started this at.
But I need 3,000 diamond paintings. I can do like 60 of them a day. That'll be great.
And then what would you do with all of those?
I'll give them to you.
I don't need them.
Oh,
All right. Let's move on to a couple more passages. Ephesians 5:3. But among you there must not be even a hint of sexual immorality or any kind of impurity or greed, because these are improper for God's holy people.
who is he talking to there? Ephesians. So he's talking
to the Ephesians. Yeah.
Okay.
He's saying, hey, church guys. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, church family.
Okay.
You shouldn't have even a hint, let alone the reality of, not even a hint of sexual immorality or of any kind of impurity. And then he throws the third one, or greed. These are improper for God's holy people. In another passage, Paul says to the Colossians in 3:5-6, put to death, therefore, whatever belongs to your earthly nature. And here's the list: sexual immorality, impurity, lust, evil desires, and greed, which is idolatry. Because of these, the wrath of God is coming. How many of the verses that we read tonight that God's wrath is connected with greed?
A lot of them.
A lot of them. We don't want to be under God's wrath, do we?
No.
No.
How come I'm confused by the idolatry? It's making my head spin.
Well, all those things
Yeah.
are putting something ahead of God. Anything ahead of God is idolatry.
Okay. Okay. I see it now. I'm with you. It took
Okay.
a minute for the wires to connect.
Okay. And one last passage from Paul again. Here he's talking to Timothy, who was a young, up and coming preacher in training, if you will. This is Timothy chapter 6, verses 6-10. I'm going to read
First
from the
or
message.
second?
First Timothy.
1 Timothy chapter 6, 6-10.
Yeah, and I'm going to read from the message. A devout life does not, wait a minute, a devout life does bring wealth, but it's the rich simplicity of being yourself before God. Since we entered the world penniless and will leave it penniless, if we have bread on the table and shoes on our feet, that's enough. But if it's only money these leaders are after, they'll self-destruct in no time. Lust for money brings trouble, and nothing but trouble. Going down that path, some lose their footing in the faith completely and live to regret it bitterly ever after. So he's talking about greed there, that it's self-destructive and that you can lose your footing in your faith. That sounds pretty dangerous.
Yeah, it does.
So do you think God intends for us to want and need things?
Yes.
Okay. So
Mm-mm.
where's the problem then?
When
Well,
we want to need things other than him.
Other than him? Okay, that's part of it. What else?
when we want and need the things more than him.
More
Yeah.
than him. Okay. And what's the difference between a want and a need?
Yeah, I want all my diamond paintings.
But you
Don't
don't
need
necessarily
them.
need.
Okay. So need is what we need to survive. And God even says we don't need to worry even about that because he's got that under control. So what's a want then?
Everything else.
Everything else. Okay.
It's not a
So-
necessity. We just want it.
Yeah. We just want it. So we live in a consumer world, don't we?
Yeah.
Can we imagine ourselves unplugged from greed?
Oh, greed isn't necessarily wanting something, it's wanting things to excess, correct?
Excess, yeah.
So,
It's the attitude behind it, right?
right.
But stuff can clog our souls and mess with our spirituality. Can't it?
Mhm.
So greed is a dangerous thing. So we need to watch out for it. And our world's more than ready to help us go down that path.
Oh,
Think about
Yeah.
every new college student. What kind of mail do new college students get?
Credit cards.
Credit card applications.
As soon as
Yes.
you turn 18.
As soon as you
They
turn
just
18,
disappear.
go to college, you get credit card
Yeah.
applications. The message that this application suggests that their lives are going to be minimized if they lack goods. And that college is all about living life to the maximum. No need to wait. You can have it now. Enjoy your college years. Well, this could be anybody in college.
Mm.
Enjoy your life. You have a lifetime to pay it back, right?
Hmm.
Be the person that you want to be. Join the human race. Get a credit card.
Hmm. Instant gratification.
Right. And the reality is they don't even have a job.
Hmm.
But the possession of a credit card is now become the equivalent of having a driver's license.
Hmm.
It's the right of every American, right?
Yeah.
Hmm? Just as Adam and Eve reached for the forbidden fruit, we grab for the card and consume to our heart's desires. We have the master in charge. We are Americans who know how to express ourselves.
Masters in charge.
We discover who we are. We are the heirs of Caesar, who stated, Veni, vici, visa. I came, I saw, I charged.
I was wondering how you're going to fit Visa in there.
I'm reading that from a book. That's not my words, but yeah,
That's funny.
it's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how more do we get ourselves in trouble than spending beyond our means?
This
Hmm.
is true.
And we sort of jump into greed that way, don't we?
Yeah.
So what is the answer? What is the answer for greed? How do we reverse this path?
I sell all my diamond paintings.
So this path started back in the Garden of Eden, right? They wanted
Yeah.
Hmm.
They wanted to know everything.
to know everything. They wanted to be like God.
Right.
So tithing is the answer to our greed problem. Tithing is our act of recognizing God as our creator. It's respecting what's his and his alone. It's an act of worship. When we bring our offerings to God, we're telling him this belongs to you, along with everything else that you've given us.
Hmm.
We're simply stewards, not owners of it.
Hmm.
And you've asked that we return a tenth or a tithe or whatever he's asking you to return as an act of respect and reverence.
Mm.
And this offering that we bring to him is this way of submitting our entire lives to him. Just it's a token. Offering thanks for the provision of our needs, affirming our partnership with him and care of creation, and saying, yes, everything is his. And it's not really ours to start with. So tithe is the answer. And if you want to read more about what happens when you abuse that, you can go to Malachi. Because they were practicing giving things to God. But if you read in the first chapter of Malachi, it says that they were bringing the diseased and deformed animals and the worst of what they had to God and saying, here you go, God, this is what I'm bringing to you. And then if you go down into chapter 3 of Malachi in verses 8 to 12, you see God asks them some questions. He says, you're going to rob me? You're going to give me the junk?
That's where he also tells them to test him in that. He says, test me in it.
Test me in this. If you put me first and you return to me a token of what I have given to you and recognize that that is your worship of me and that is your showing me that you understand where it all comes from. Yeah. And the writer of the book that I'm reading to get some of this from says that he and his family supported several, 5, I think it was, children in Haiti, that they would get food, clothing, and education. And it cost them $100 a month, and their kids would forego some things that other kids had. They would ride secondhand bicycles. They would not have the biggest, best Christmas presents, etc. But through the years, they supported these kids. And then one day, the father was able, through his company, to go to Haiti, where these kids were that they were supporting. And by scrimping and saving and having the permission of his company, he was able to take his 2 teenage kids along at this point. And the family got to meet these 5 kids. He says, the second day that they were in Haiti, the family hired a Jeep and drove out to the village where their young friends lived. The children, who were now teenagers, had been told of the visit and looked forward eagerly to the day when they would meet those who had done so much for them. The American family traveled for hours, but their tiredness did not detract from the joy they experienced when they arrived at their destination. 5 young people whom they had supported stood waiting in front of their school. They had been there since the early morning, waiting to meet their American friends. As soon as the Jeep stopped in front of the school, 5 Haitian teenagers ran to it with happy excitement. 2 American children bounced out of the Jeep and into their arms, and there followed a quarter hour of glorious hugging. Despite the language barrier, the young people communicated their affection for each other. At the end of that special day, there was an unplanned ceremony in which the Haitian children gave their American friends Christmas tree ornaments they themselves had made out of twigs and sizzle. After a long and affectionate goodbye, the Americans got back into their Jeep to return to Port-au-Prince. On the way to the capital city, the 2 children sat in pensive silence. Their silence seemed so strange and puzzling that their father asked what was wrong. Oh, nothing's wrong, answered his daughter. I was just thinking that there was nothing we could have done with our money over the last 10 years that would have made us happier than we are right now.
Mm.
Seeing the need of others and letting
Mhm.
it change you is another answer to the greed problem. So tithing and service to others. All right. I'm going to end the recording there.